There's joy in the journey, peace in the climb. Even in the waiting, love's right on time. So breathe in the beauty, let go of the fear. You're not alone, joy is here.
Hey friends, welcome back to Joy in the Journey, a place where we find beauty in brokenness, strength in the struggle, and always joy in the journey. I am your host, Jaja Fortuna, and I am so very grateful to have you here with me today. Hola mi gente, bienvenidos a Gozo en el Viaje, donde encontramos belleza en el quebrantamiento, fuerza en la lucha y siempre gozo en el camino. Yo soy tu anfitriona, Jaja Fortuna, y estoy súper agradecida por tenerlos aquí conmigo hoy. Y quiero recordarles que pueden activar los subtítulos en YouTube y las instrucciones estarán en las notas o en los comentarios. Oi pessoal, bem-vindos à Alegria na Jornada, onde encontramos beleza na dor, força na batalha e sempre alegria na jornada. Eu sou sua anfitriã, Jaja Fortuna. Gostaria de lhe recordar que podem ativar os subtítulos no YouTube e para as instruções vejam nos comentários ou nas notas. Alright, so what they don't tell you about recovery. So we have covered left hip replacement, we have covered right hip replacement, and I just want to go to a tender place with you guys and just really get a little bit more deep about what they don't tell you about recovery. So before my first hip surgery, I was pretty scared, honestly. There were times that I had ebbs and flows of tears, and but strangely, I also had a lot more peace. I remember talking to one of my sisters when I told her that I was going to have hip replacement, and she asked me, like, how are you so calm? And I don't know, I told her that I had already cried a few, but hindsight, I'm thinking, well, I think I was being carried by God, and so I was putting all of my energy, all of my emotions in just trusting, like, more so my energy in trusting that God had me. And it wasn't like a fake, put a smile kind of, peace and energy. No, it was just a real peace, the kind of peace that only God gives. The kind of peace, like the Bible says, that surpasses all understanding. And I knew the surgery would be hard, but I did not know what would follow after once I got home. So I told you guys the first surgery, I got home literally Thanksgiving Day. And I thought, you know what? It's just hubby and I. We are finally out of the hospital. And I'm ready for this. Well, burst my bubble because I wasn't. So during the days, the first few days, my husband was home, and thankfully it was Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is on a Friday, on a Thursday, and he had Friday off, and then the whole weekend. And so it was quite lovely until we hit the nights. Like during the day, we had some people come over and drop off food or just sit with me. But during the night, though, when everybody left, that's where it got hard. like I could almost feel that I was a completely different person at nighttime. And there's just this silence once the sun goes down. And the silence was deep. It was a tiny bit creepy. And I kid you not, it was like a dark cloud would just enter our home. And, like in the church, that's what we call spiritual attacks. Where, during the day you're totally fine. And then at nighttime, where you're the most isolated, all these negative thoughts come and haunt you. And it was like clockworks. Every night, this shadow would loom. And the joy I felt earlier would disappear. And helplessness would just creep in. And I remember just having this deep sadness, and I could not explain why. I mean, at times I would just say, I'm in pain, therefore I'm sad too. But honestly, at that time, I had no name for that sadness. And now, honestly, I do believe that first surgery had me in the state of depression. No one talks about the emotional toll of surgery. And yeah, that first one kind of sort of crushed me. And I'm just wanting to be completely vulnerable and real with you guys. The fact that I couldn't move my body on my own, I had to use the walker, and I had to use the commode at night. It just really, it just affected me in ways that I didn't even expect. I often was terrified of having a accident in the bed, honestly. So I would sleep with the commode and still have to use the walker to get out of the bed. And my husband had to help me with all of that, especially the first full week. And especially after my husband went back to work, I just kind of lived in this fear. And I think the fear was mainly, golly, what if he gets sick because he's hardly resting and he is just always just taking care of me? And what if he gets so tired of this? Because he was truly amazing through it all. He would help me even in the middle of the night when I needed to go pee. I mean, let me tell you, nobody wants a pee-pee baby, Like in Portuguese we say, ninguém quer ser mijona, ninguém gosta de uma mijona. And so we got through it, but honestly, those were some hard days. Especially when he got back to work, it got a little bit harder. And then when the weekends came, I would feel this sense of wanting to give him space because I felt guilty for asking more and more help. If he wanted to help me, I wanted it to come from him and just him, taking initiative, just help me, But I know in hindsight that I should have still asked for help, because when he pulled back, when I was not asking for help and he pulled back, it only made the feelings worse. I started feeling more and more invisible, and not that I felt unloved. I think I just had felt this loneliness. And I thank God for our community. Seriously, I do not get tired of saying this. I am so grateful to God that we have great friends and great community that helped us go through all of the transitions that we went through. And one of our friends, the husband, went through the same hip replacement surgery. He actually had the same surgeon, which was kind of cool to talk about. It goes deeper, but anyways. But his wife so sweet. I just adore her. She was such a comfort in times where I just did not know what to do with all of the emotions I was feeling. And she said, just something that she said to me that really resonated. She said, when, I'll just say D, when D went through his hip replacement, he was not himself. And he took a while to get back to being himself. So be patient with yourself. I'm kind of paraphrasing her words, but something that she said in just the encouragement of, that is normal. Like, it just made me feel like, golly, I'm not alone in this. I'm not alone even in the emotions of it. Because everybody says, might talk about hip replacement is so fast, and you get out of the hospital pretty quickly, and some people get out even the same day, and but they do not talk about the emotional side of things. Like, I had no words or no language to express how I was feeling, and my friend was so gracious to spend time with me and explain the emotions. She was able to tell me, like, her husband's emotions were a little bit confusing at times. And our friend, the husband who had the surgery, he said, and men are just really not great at expressing their emotions. Men have 3 emotions: eat, sleep, and really tight hugs, if you get my drift. Anyways, but in a serious note, they were just so wonderful, and God sent to walk with us in those moments, because hearing that, hearing their story, hearing his story, it just made me feel like I wasn't weak. I wasn't going crazy. I was just healing. Una de las cosas peores es sentirse como tú estás loca. No. Just because you're going through stuff does not mean that you're crazy. Does not mean that you are weak. No. I mean, even though it sucks. Pardon my, German I say these days. It really flipping sucks when you're just in, feeling like in such despair and darkness. And I'm just so grateful that the second surgery was less of a storm. And my husband and I were a little bit more prepared, and emotionally also, and we had words to speak our needs. He knew when he needed to step away for a little bit to also care for himself. He was able to communicate a little bit better this time around. And I knew to call a friend to get me out of the house, because I'm a social butterfly. And one thing about hip replacement is that you have to stay put. I mean, you have to do your glute squeezes, and you have to walk every hour, a little bit, but you cannot overdo it. You have to stay put. And I am not the best at staying put, so that was a real challenge. But also, by God's grace, by the second surgery, I feel that I had gained so much confidence that I remember surgery was on a Tuesday, January 14th. And by Sunday, after that, I was already scooting in my little with my little. It was quite a blessing to be able to walk to church. I mean, walk inside church, not walk to church, and be just so surrounded by the family of God. It was exactly what I needed in that second surgery, especially the recovery after learning the darkness of the first surgery. And I don't want to sugarcoat it. The second one was also challenging. I knew what was coming. I knew what was potentially coming, and I also had better tools. So when there were nights when it felt I couldn't breathe, I was able to call a friend. I was able to process what I was feeling, and that was definitely just really God given grace to me. One night actually I ended up having a panic attack. It felt like the room was filling up with smoke, and the walls were just closing in, and the only escape was through an open window. And even that open window, I feel like I couldn't even open that window. And that night, I remember calling my friend, one of my friends who works in psych. It's nice to have those in hand, or by your side, I mean. But it was just quite lovely. She stayed on the phone with me, and she talked me through it. She said, Jaja, she actually calls me Jojo. Jojo, go to the bathroom, wash your face with cold water, take a deep breath, and I'll be right here on the phone with you. You're not alone. So I had my my earpods in, and I did exactly what she did, and all was all right. And also, I had God. In the middle of the storm, we feel like we are so isolated and alone, and that's what the devil wants us to believe. That's what the enemy wants us to believe, that we are so alone and no one is around us. No, I had God. I had his people that he put in my life, and that was enough. That was sufficient. And I kept coming back to this verse, which is one of my favorite verses, Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. I didn't have energy to fight. I didn't have the strength to stay strong. And that was okay. But God fought for me. And that is more than enough. And he is also fighting for you. Friends, let that be enough when you have bad days. Because there's even joy in the fog. Even when the room is filling up with smoke, there is joy. Because he is the source of joy. I found joy in unexpected places, honestly. I found joy in cold compresses, kind of weird. I found joy in whispered prayers. I found joy with all the visitors that came from nearby and from far away. And I found joy, so much joy, in shared coffee with friends. I found joy in snuggling with my babies, with my baby girl Campbell and her little brother. And let me not fool you, joy didn't look like skipping or smiling. It wasn't all rainbows. Não foi mar de rosas. It looked like survival. I was just trying to survive, and there was a certain different kind of joy that came with it, and it was enough. Like that survival, that was enough. And friends, I just want to end with a quick prayer, for not just for me, but for you too, if you would allow me. Just want to thank God for you, for being here and for listening. And I just want to say, God, thank you for being near when the pain is loud and the word the world feels quiet. For the person listening who feels isolated, Lord, I pray, would you hold them tonight? Remind them that healing takes time. That slow progress, it is still progress. And that feeling low doesn't mean that they have lost faith. Be their strength when they have none. We trust you, Lord, in the storm or stillness. Thank you. Amen. Friends, like I always remind you, please take this to heart. You are not alone. And I am so grateful that you are here with me today and that you are listening to this podcast today. And if this episode resonated with you, would you please share it with someone who needs it? And again, you are not alone in your healing, and your story still matters. Mi gente, muchas gracias por estar aquí conmigo. Recuérdense que no están solos, que Dios está con ustedes y que yo estoy aquí. Entonces, si este episodio vos habló, mándame un mensaje o deja un comentario pessoal. Só quero dizer muito, muito obrigado por estar aqui comigo hoje, por ouvir esse podcast. E só quero recordar que não estão sozinhos. Que se tem um momento que se sentam sós, podem escrever, podem mandar um comentário. Eu estarei aqui. Mas mais importante, Deus está com vocês. Deus está com você. Until next time, stay joyous.
There's joy